Hello, I'm Matt Williamson at Williamson NFL, and hope everyone's doing well. A little chilly out there, but that's all right. The Steelers made a couple moves since we got together. Nothing earth-shattering, but one of which I'm a pretty big fan of. Get to that in a minute. That's Juan Thornhill. Not that I dislike the D-line moves. They brought back Isaiah Loudermilk, and they signed Daniel Ukele. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I've done a little homework on it. I've seen a couple different pronunciations. Okay, let's start with the D-lineman. Loudermilk, we know exactly what he is. I've never been a huge fan. I kind of thought last year was put up or shut up for Loudermilk, and he kind of shut up more than he put up. But by the nature of how this looks, I give him a 50% chance to even be on the final roster. And if he isn't, it doesn't hurt you. Maybe even less than that, especially if they still draft 2 defensive linemen, which I think is very much in the cards still. He is what he is. He's familiar with the system. He's not a bad player. You just hope to be better than that. But he's probably your last defensive lineman when it's all said and done, when we're in Latrobe talking about camp cuts or whatever. So, okay, fine. I mean, I don't think we have to spend a lot of time on that one. Ukele, though, comes over from the Patriots, where he started a lot of games on a bad defense on a bad team. I don't look at him as an NFL starter. I mean, but I do think he's a quality player. I think he will be on the team. He's a stouter guy. He's 6'3", kind of a wide body, but he has some initial quickness. He has some pass rush to him. He's been around the block. He's a self-made guy. He's a undrafted free agent coming out of school. Got some athleticism, good strength, good power, more of a run stuffer. I don't have a great example of the player he is, but I do think his usage or role on the team will be very Lowry, Wormley-like, rotational guy, give Cam a break, blah, blah, blah. I guess he's a little more like Ogunjobi than he is Hayward or Tuitt in terms of body type, and he's not an old school 3-4 defensive end, which is something that they don't necessarily need at this point. But I still think, and the Thornhill thing will even reflect on this more, I still think there's a real good chance that 2 of their draft picks are on defense, and both of them are D linemen, a true nose tackle type, and hopefully a high upside, penetrating, super talented D lineman. So I don't think these moves get in the way of that, but there is depth. Cool. No big deal. I like those 2 pickups. They're fine, but they're not earth shattering. I'm not going to tell you that they changed the balance of power or anything like that. Of course. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all the madness. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion with the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to a $200,000 bracket contest. BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every Cinderella story to every hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, as mentioned, the other pickup was Juan Thornhill. Didn't quite see this coming, but I'm a fan. Now, there's been some injuries, there's been some inconsistencies, but let's talk about the background of Mr. Thornhill. I think he's 29 years old. He was a second-round pick of the Chiefs. Safety, but he also has some slot capability, by the way, in case you didn't know what position he played. Amazing tester at the combine. 44-inch vertical. I mean, like, really explosive athlete. And he's not undersized. He's a little over 6 foot. He's a little over 200 pounds. Did a lot of slot work with the Chiefs. Then the Browns signed him to pretty big contract. And then they cut him, so he does not hurt the comp pick game. The Browns are very cash strapped. His biggest role with the Browns was kind of their version of Minkah as your deep middle center fielder type. Like the Steelers, they were one of the highest defenses in the league of single high coverage. Minkah's better than them. I mean, don't get me wrong. So he's very slot capable. He's very single high capable. He's absolutely capable playing too high with Minkah or Elliott. And a couple things. If Minkah were to get hurt, it wouldn't be as drastic of a massive problem to put Thornhill in his place. Sure. I also think that there will be times when those two are on the field together where Minkah becomes the slot or near the line of scrimmage or the joker or, a wild card type guy, with Thornhill being a better version of KZ. First of all, I should have started with that. Better version of KZ, way more athletic, way more starter capable. I think you could definitely make the argument that he's one of the best 40 safeties in the league, and he would start for some teams. He's probably still a top 32 safety in the league. He's obviously extremely experienced in the division the last couple of years. He understands Lamar Jackson and Burrow and, of course, what the Browns are trying to do. So he understands the opponents that you're facing most often really, really well. I also think that something that the Steelers have gotten away from a little bit is big nickel. And I think that this implies, and I hope, that we see more big nickel with those top three safeties on the field with some regularity, maybe week to week type of thing. Just one more club in the bag that you can use. As you know, I think they've gotten a little too predictable and a little too, set in their ways with their defensive personnel and scheme. But now also with Roberts out of the mix, and I think Wilson getting a bigger role, certainly implied, or Holcomb, but certainly Wilson, I can certainly envision packages with the middle of the field defense being Queen, Wilson, Elliott, Minkah, Thornhill. That's a lot of athleticism between the numbers. Middle of the field, linebacker, safety situation. A lot of athleticism. And something they haven't really had. KZ's a fine player. It's a better version. It's longer, more athletic. Frankly, just a better football player. Now, like I said, there's been injuries and inconsistencies, which is probably why he's out there signing a 1-year prove-it deal. But he's got a lot to prove, which is what you want. He's got a ton to play for. The other thing, I kind of mentioned this with the draft and how it affects it. Now, I don't know if they would have been in the market for a safety or a big nickel. I think they certainly should be looking for some sort of big nickel safety type. And even after signing Eccles is closer to Beanie as a slot option than he is Kyle Hamilton, those type of slots. But I also think if you look at the back seven of their defense, off the ball linebacker, safety now, which I expect these three, Killebrew and Watts. Don't forget about Watts. I still have a lot of hope for Watts from last year's draft class. And the corner situation after signing two, they might be done in the back seven. Now, the only thing I could see them doing is, wow, there's a corner there in the 4th round that we had a really high grade on, an outside corner, too good to pass up. Okay. And they're probably done at edge too. So is the majority of the defensive roster spots pretty much occupied now? I lean towards yes, with the exception of maybe 2 more D tackles in the draft, because it's a really deep D tackle draft and high picks, like a 1st rounder and a 3rd rounder, 1st rounder and a 4th rounder, a nose type, and an end type, and big guys, D tackles. So you could look at it that way and say, obviously I understand that they do not have a quarterback yet. They still have some cash, but might they pick up a thing here and there on offense? A swing tackle, a wide receiver we didn't see coming. I don't know. I don't think it'd be a running back, so all of a sudden your draft day desires and needs are filling up pretty good. Like you're definitely going to They're definitely going to draft a running back. I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe they'll draft one D lineman, if not two, as we just talked about. And then are you just kind of sitting there like, wow, grab a quarterback, throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. Grab a tackle that's a project, throw it against the wall, see if it sticks. Positions that can pay off in a big way financially. So these aren't massive moves, 2 D linemen and Thornhill. But I think you have to realize there's a vision here. There's a team being built. It's not just fantasy football where you grab a guy here and you plug him in. That there's a ripple effect to all these moves that sets you up to make the best draft picks you possibly can, the best use of cap space and money that you possibly can. And I didn't really see the Thornhill move coming, but I think you guys know me by now. I love the one extra in a spot like that, and that's what he is. I mean, I really look at the defense and think they're pretty well set now with the exception of the big guys, the D tackles, or even in the draft, if it's the 5th round and man, this is such a deep edge class. We don't need edge. We have 3 guys we love, but he's a 3rd round grade on this guy, and he could be a great special teamer, and maybe he turns into the next Herbig. Okay, well, now it kind of sets you up to do those things. Or, man, after the DK deal and signing Scotty Miller and Skoranek, and maybe we didn't see a receiver need in the draft, but we'll grab one anyways because we can, So these are those type of moves that make that more possible. And even if you only got 1 D lineman in the draft, okay, these guys you signed this weekend or this, since we talked last, are NFL players and you know what you're getting. So again, not earth-shattering moves. This isn't Aaron Rodgers, coming to the team or anything like that. All those shoes, that shoe still needs to drop, but a lot of the shoes are dropping pretty quick. So I approve. I think especially the Thornhill move makes some sense to me and fills in some needs that are under the radar. All right, everyone, take care. I'll be back tomorrow.